It's Corso and Catone. Brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel, Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here as always. Joe is with us in the booth. You're watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, 790 The Score. Anywhere you podcast, you can catch us. And make sure you give us a call and heated hotline, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S, 24/7. Leave us a message. Anything's on the table, we're going to play yours. So make sure you give us a call and or email us in our mailbag at corso.catone@gmail.com. Have a busy one tonight. Not as many segments, Joe, Mark, but a busy one.
A busy one. We got a lot to talk about. A lot.
So Pat's
talk about.
That's right. So in Pat's Nation, we're going to be, what is it, Joe? Free Agent
Fiesta.
Okay, so we're going to be talking a lot of free agent topics, including the Patriots. Well, Mark will get a little irritated there. And we're going to welcome one of you in heated hotline, and I'm going to go rewind. In Weekly Rewind, we're going to talk Celtics. A little bit of baseball in our PC Minute. It's Thursday. We're recording, so Providence College is playing in the Big East tournament, and they're playing right now. So Moxley Antsy wants to get going and watch that game. So,
yeah,
gentlemen.
Hey.
Yeah, see how antsy is, Joe? He wants out. He wants to go. Let's go. Right? Well, then let's go. Let's welcome into Pat's Nation, Joe. So, Mark, free agency opens up. Let's start with that. And started off on Monday, right, with the legal tampering period. Now we're into the new league year.
Now
so
we're already into the year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So all the juicy stuff is already come and gone.
Yep.
So how do you want to do this? You want to talk? Let's talk about the Patriots first. See what
Sure.
they brought in and all that. Who do we get? We want to start with who was new or who we retained.
So Chris, before we even get to that, most experts said that the Patriots' three biggest priorities in the offseason, especially in free agency, because they knew they were probably getting yourself some sort of a bridge quarterback, wide receiver, and tackle. Yep. Those were the three big things for free agency. So let's just set the stage.
So keep that in mind, everybody out there.
Everybody, please.
Okay, so let's just go through some of these. Okay. They bring in tight end Austin Hooper, 29. Bring him in he played for the Raiders as another tight end.
He also was with Cleveland at one time.
He was also with Cleveland.
I love that Cleveland connection, Chris.
Right.
Now we got the Cleveland connection.
Yeah, because we're now the New England Browns or Cleveland Patriots, however you want to say it, which is great. We'll be in an endless loop of crap and mediocrity and just stink.
Yep.
So, okay, do we need to break that guy down? He's a second tight end. I mean, okay.
Is he? I don't even know if he's a second tight end, Chris. But I guess he is until
he is now because there's nobody else.
Now, right? Yeah.
There's nobody else there but Hunter Henry, and so I assume he's going to be the second guy.
So Hunter Henry, they signed him, right?
Yeah. We'll go through the guys we brought back. Okay, but these are the new arrivals. Okay, Antonio Gibson, running back, play for the I was about to say it, the Commanders. Okay, last year he scored a touchdown against us too. It was a swing pass. Remember that?
Yes,
or was a wide run or something. Yeah, that's when they broke down on the edge. Mark, I remember that play. I was pissed off on the show about that play. So, Mark, what about this guy? This guy moved the needle for you?
Oh, listen, no, but okay. Did they need a third down back? Yes. Can he run in zone blocking, which it appears that Van Pelt's going to do? Yes. Were there 10 other guys in free agency better than him? Yes. So does he move the needle? Not necessarily, no.
He catches the ball out of the backfield. I mean, he's versatile.
Yeah, he does.
He gives a nice compliment to Stevenson. Runs 4.39.
Yep.
He had 40-plus catches in 4 consecutive seasons, and so on and so forth. So, okay, there's your second back. I don't really, they paid very little for him. I don't really have a huge problem with that pick up. Would have rather have Barkley, but they'll never pay that. Okay.
No, they're not paying that.
So they bring Okafor, the tackle from
Pittsburgh.
Where was he from? From Pittsburgh. I think did we talk about that last week? I don't know. But anyway, they bring him in. He started 15 games, got in the doghouse there because he criticized the coaching over there. So he's now going to be put in attack. This is another guy, another Riley Reef, another Calvin Anderson, another one of these guys, right? Okay.
Yep.
Let's get to the quarterback, Mark. Okay. So, by the way, you mentioned tackle and wide receiver. That's your only tackle.
Okay.
And there is no wide receiver that they brought in.
Could you repeat that?
There is no wide receiver that they brought in.
Okay.
No.
I didn't know if I misunderstood what you said there. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Let's talk about before we get to because they brought a linebacker in, not noteworthy. They brought Amon Watson, a defensive lineman, bench guy, that kind of thing.
There's a depth piece. Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett.
Okay.
This is your bridge quarterback. They gave him 1 year, $8 million. So, so the guys that were there, the guys that we could have looked at were Wilson, Cousins. Cousins more he was going to get a big deal.
And there was Cousins was never on the table, and everyone knew Mayfield was going to get a big deal. So those guys really weren't on the table, Chris, because those guys don't consider themselves bridge quarterbacks, anyways. So
no,
so that was unrealistic.
You had Brissett, you had Wilson. I'll throw Garoppolo in there.
You had Garoppolo, you had Wilson, you had Burt Reynolds.
Yes, Minshew. So the big deal was like him or Minshew, Brissett and Minshew. So what do you think of this? Because this is going to be a quarterback next year.
Well,
this is him.
Chris, here's the thing. Van Pelt has a familiarity with him, right? He had him with Cleveland. He's a locker room guy. If you draft a rookie, he's not gonna think he's the starter. He'll mentor him. He'll bring him along. He'll show him the ropes, teach him the playbook, make him understand how to be a pro. So in that sense, Chris, everybody you talk to says that Brisby is a great guy and he's the perfect guy for that. Does he move the needles wins and loss wise with what they have so far on this team? No, he's not moving the needle wins and loss wise. No.
He's going to get his ass kicked.
Yeah, not moving the needle.
Okay. So that
I mean, what do you see in him?
They're just starting quarter. Game manager guy, everything you just said. I mean, the guy, he had some flashes of good last year. I mean, again, he'll know the offense. I don't know how mistake free he'll be.
Okay.
That's what your hope is. Take care of the ball. I don't expect you to win us a game, but I really don't want you to lose us a game, kind of thing. But it really isn't going to make a difference, though, is it, Mark? Because moving on from that little discussion is to who we brought back. Okay, so let's just get right into Kendrick Bourne right now, because I know that you're, before we run out of time, I want to make sure that we get to the wide receivers. So they bring Kendrick Bourne back. All right. I don't know what the deal. I don't know the deal. I think it was like $33 million over
something
3
like
years.
That.
Something like that.
It was a small amount that was guaranteed, Chris. And the guaranteed money is what's important to the ownership of this team.
Right.
Because you can put it in signing bonuses, spread it out. They don't want to give out big chunks of money that's guaranteed. So that's big to this ownership group. Because that's real money, Chris.
So talk to me, and we're going to get to them in a second. But talk to me about him. Okay, because here's your wide receiver room as we speak. Okay. You have Bourne. They released Parker. Thank God. So you have Bourne, Schuster, Thornton, Douglas, and Butte. This is your receiver room.
And Jalen Shitstains Rieger.
Oh, Rieger. Yeah, well. Yeah. Rieger's the return guy. So, I mean,
Listen.
You
have the worst wide receiver room in the National Football League. Let's say it. The worst, I repeat, the worst national wide receiver room in the National Football League. And I said that last year before the season started. I said it last year.
And let me make sure I'm
Rothstein,
right.
Mr.
I got the
Rothstein
Rothstein
with
glasses on for those of you listening on the radio. Yeah, no, I'm right. That's the receiving room. That's the wide receiver room. Mark, listen.
Chris, what does Kendrick Bourne give you? Okay, did he have some flashes last year? If you want to call them flashes, because your wide receiver room was so damn bad, Chris. He looked better compared to those guys, but he still can't get separation against a good defense. What is it that you felt as though you had to go sign Kendrick Bourne when you could have signed Gabe Davis, who got a very little bit more than that from Carolina, who I think would have given you a more dynamic player in the middle of the field who could do different things? Go get Gabe Davis. No, the guy you like from Chicago, Chris, Donnell Mooney, go get him. Gives you some more dynamic play in the middle of the field, can do other things that this offense doesn't have. Instead, you stayed with, I can't even talk, Chris. I'm so aggravated right now.
And why? And we're going to get to this on the other side of the break, but why? Because they don't want to pay guaranteed money. Look, nobody was sniffing at Kendrick Bourne. Here's the other problem I have with him too, okay? And this is something I haven't heard all week. I don't know why, but I haven't heard it all week. He's got an ACL, and he got the ACL injury when? That was like week
October?
Sometime in October.
Yeah.
When's the last player you saw at a skill spot come back from an ACL and look good the year after?
Not going to. It'll be year 2.
Didn't Schuster have a knee injury?
Yeah. So it's going to be year 2. So you gave this guy a 3-year contract for what? Really?
Which is really 2. Which is really a 2-year
deal. Yeah,
deal.
because probably they'll get rid of him at the end of the second for the 3rd year, probably.
So to do what? Get 1 year out of him? Yeah, I don't know what that does. I don't think he was that good to begin with. Like you said, if he was that good, Shanahan would not have let him go over there.
And Chris, I would argue you overpaid for him. You should have let him go to the market. Who the hell was signing a guy on an ACL injury? Nobody was giving him even what you gave him, Chris. Nobody was giving him that.
Yeah. So, fail. That's an F. That's an F. That's a score. That's an F. F. Okay. Now, they bring back a Winnow. They paid a Winnow.
That wasn't a bad contract when you saw what some of these offensive linemen were getting, Chris. Listen.
Some of the guards were getting. Guards were getting
paid
a ton of money out there.
The guards were getting big money. So, the Owenu contract I'm okay with, Chris, because you didn't give him big money. It's not big guaranteed money.
Right.
He can play guard, tackle combo for you. I'm actually okay with that. Listen, I'm not saying he's a dominant force, because there are a lot of games they blew right by him. However, you got nothing else there. So for the money you gave him, I guess that was okay. It was okay. I'm all right with that.
Yeah. Well, they needed something on the offensive line. I mean,
what are you gonna do?
So they bring the tackle in from Pittsburgh. They get, they re-sign a Winnow. The difference between Bill and Ed, they're re-signing their guys. Okay, but you're re-signing your guys. Okay, well, Hunter Henry.
We'll get to that.
I'm fine with that.
I'm okay with Henry. You never tight end on the roster, Chris.
Because you didn't have a tight end. I like the kid from K-State. When we do our draft preview, just like you, I got that from Mark. The kid, pay attention to him. We should be drafting him. Okay? No problem with that. One of the problems I have on the D now, they brought back Anthony Jennings, which I'm happy with that. They needed to,
and it was not a cheap contract, Chris.
Uche was a little bit of a head scratcher to me because he didn't give you much last year. He had some injury issues. You got Keon White. I don't know. You got Jennings. I'm not really sure why Uche needed to be re-signed. Okay, I don't know that.
But the rumor, Chris, he turned down more money. From who? Who offered him anything?
Yeah, but they don't tell you who, and they don't tell you how much.
Who? Nobody offered him beans. Right. Come on.
And then the other guy, they put the transition tag on Duggar. Now, we talked about this a little bit. They put the transition tag on Duggar. Now, that's going to pay him $14 million when nobody sniffs at him, which nobody is. Because if anyone offers him a deal, New England can match it. Except there's a slew of safeties that are still left out there.
Chris, none of the safeties are coming off the board. They gambled and they lost. They miscalculated the safety market, because at the end of the day, you probably could have signed him for like $8 or $9 million, because that's all he was worth probably on the open market. So you gambled and lost doing that. You didn't need to transition tag him. So that was a mistake.
Right. And so now you're going to overpay for the safety. I mean, you got Curl still out there. There's a few guys out there. Blackman's out there. I mean, you know, So now you're
Meanwhile,
overpaying
Chris,
for
you
your
still
safety,
haven't
who's
addressed
not
your-
right.
But
Go
meanwhile,
ahead.
Chris, you still haven't addressed your need at free safety.
Right. Your center fielder's not there because
Not there.
he's not playing that position.
Nope.
Phillips is gone. Mills is gone.
And that's not the other guy's position either.
Mapu doesn't play there.
Nope.
He's
What's
a
his
box
name?
safety.
The kid that played Peppers. That's not Peppers'
That's
position
not
either.
Peppers. So you're still in need of a free safety. Okay.
By the way, they could have signed Jordan Poyer, who didn't sign for a lot of money, Chris.
Right. So these are the guys you brought back. So we just wanted to kind of highlight the guys that you brought back. Okay. And we're going to go to break. And we're going to come back. We're going to talk about some other players. Then this is where it's going to get interesting, Joe, because we're going to talk about some other players on the other side. Then we're going to give you our theory as to what this team is really about and what this ownership is really about. We're going to do it on the other side right after.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, talk with these expert attorneys. CORSOLawGroup.com.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England Field. Okay, Mark. So we went through who they brought back, who they got in free agency. It's not a big list. It's not a huge list.
No.
Okay. It's not even worth going over who they lost, who went away, because nobody's worth anything. So, Mark, okay. We'll get to the why. Why are these guys? Or do you want to talk about that first and then talk about what they should have done? What you tell me. What do you want to do?
Whatever's easier for you. Either way, I'm going to lose my mind. It doesn't matter to me.
Well, then who should be on this team? Because they talked about Ridley. They talked about being in on Ridley. I talked about Queen. This is what we heard prior. This is what we heard several weeks ago. We heard we're going to weaponize the offense. Okay.
And that came right from Elliott Wolf, Chris.
Right. And this also came from him. And on defense, we're going to get faster. Okay. And I'm paraphrasing. We're going to get faster, athletic, explosive. Those are the two words. We're going to get faster and more athletic. Well, who could he be talking about? Perhaps Bentley, Tavai, the center of that field?
Well, Chris, the center of the field, if he signs Queen, well, now you've gotten faster, more athletic, more physical. And now you can do something in the middle of that field. No, instead you kept Bentley, Tavai. You brought back all the same guys, Chris. Listen, there's a reason why you were drafted third in the draft. You can blame Belichick. You can blame Mac Jones. You can blame whoever the hell you want. And I guess you can blame Belichick because the personnel stunk. This team is lacking talent. So what did you do? In free agency, you just brought back the same lack of talent players. I'm at a loss of what the hell they are doing in free agency, Chris. I'm just at a loss that these are the people you're bringing back. No talent, no speed, no explosiveness, nothing on defense. On offense is a joke. You brought back Kendrick Bourne, Chris. You didn't sign one guy, skilled position guy besides Gibson on offense that came from another team.
Right. And again, to go to the defensive side of the ball, Queen could have had a guy like Queen, White, the guys that you and I talked about, okay? To bring on this team, to put in the center, in the middle of the field, all right, to give you some speed, some sideline to sideline ability. Patrick Queen could have done that for you. Instead, he goes to Pittsburgh. Oh, guess what? A linebacker factory, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. Just keep swapping guys.
But so you tell me, Chris, you had Donnell Mooney out there.
Yeah, so we're talking about receiver now. What could we have done?
Didn't sign him. Gabe Davis didn't sign him.
Oh, Ridley, by the way, Gabe Davis signed over there for what did he go to?
Carolina.
Carolina did some things here.
Yeah, about $39 million, maybe.
$39 million, which was what? A few million?
$7 million more than Bourne. Almost very similar, Chris. Guaranteed money wasn't much more than Bourne got. Very similar.
So you want to take a guy? So you want to put Bourne on this team, coming off an ACL, who wasn't too explosive to begin with anyway. You want to put him on this team versus Gabe Davis?
Davis would run by guys, Chris. Run by them. You don't want to put him on the team?
Yeah, good
Okay.
in crossers. He would run those nice crosses. I mean,
Yeah.
did against us constantly. So
Yeah. Chris, so then wait a minute, though. So now I know you like that kid from Chicago, Mooney. You brought him
Mooney.
up several times.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Good
Nope.
outside guy.
Yep. You don't want him. Nope.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Then, Chris, Ridley is the kicker. Ridley. They don't want Ridley. Okay, you don't want him. Why? So, and then the other guy, Chris, Buffalo just picked up, and I'm not saying he's a stud. Buffalo just signed him, but I still think he's better than Kendrick Bourne. They went and got the kid from the Commanders. That was a free agent, Curtis Samuel. I think Samuel's better than Bourne. You still got Marcus Hollywood Brown out there. Nothing. Not even a sniff. The Chargers just released Mike Williams for salary cap.
He should be the number one guy now of wide
now,
receiver
Chris,
out there
but
for
now,
anyone
but
to go
why
get.
haven't we signed any of these guys, Chris? Do you have a reason why? Because
I know why. But here's the other thing. We're just really quick. You're talking about the wideouts. Mark, who's your outside? Who's your ex right now?
Nobody. And what are they going to do? Try to force? What are they going to do? Try to force Kendrick? What are they going to try to force? Butte back into the X? Anytime they put Bourne on the field, they tried to make him the X and go into pocket spot. That's not Bourne's position. Bourne. That's not Butte's position. If you want the kid to give you anything on offense, it's not. But that's not his position.
No, how about Thornton? Thornton's going to be that guy, right? They're going to put that guy at the X. That guy, you touch him and you touch him and he breaks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay. No Tyron Smith, the tackle, Ridley. Everybody, and let me tell you how much I can't stand hearing this, Mark. I can't stand hearing Tennessee's stupid. Look at they overpaid for Ridley. They gave him $50 million guaranteed. Blah 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 blah. Like. Hey, New England people, this isn't 10 years ago. You know what I mean? You can't, everybody else is stupid because they're paying guys too much. All right, keep picking number 2.
The market, Chris, is not a lot of top flight receivers in the market because Evans re-signed, Pittman got franchised. It's 2024, Chris. Like you said, it's not 10 years ago. In order for you to get a top flight receiver, that's the going rate. You're going to have to pay 30, 40, 50 million in guaranteed money. You're going to have to pay 20 million a year. That's the going rate. The kid Brown from Philadelphia got a very similar contract, Chris. That's what the going rate is for these guys. Never mind if you're Jefferson or Chase, it's even more than that. So the Patriots are never going to get ever a true number one receiver because they're never going to pay the money. The only way they're going to get one is if they get lucky in the draft in the second, third, fourth round because Wolf don't take him in the first round. You know what to do? You take Marvin Harrison Jr. and now you got a number one receiver.
They'll never do it. They're not going to do it.
One. The cheap, and I'm going to say cheap owner won't pay for a receiver.
Yeah.
And the son, I want to lock the son in a closet. That's what I want to do with the son. Lock him in a closet.
Listen, and that's it. And that's what it boils down to. Because, and they could have made trades. They could have traded for Judy. They could trade for Higgins still. Okay. They could trade for Keenan Allen.
It's all window dressing, Chris. We made a serious offer for Ridley. You made a serious offer. That's why it came down to Tennessee and Jacksonville. You weren't even in the picture. So I don't know what serious offer you made. What did you make? They always say, they're in on this guy. They're in on that guy, Chris. It's all BS. It's all BS. The fans in New England need to realize that it was never Bill Belichick, Chris. You've been saying it for years. All he did was work with what Kraft told him he could spend.
Yeah. I mean, they're not spending dust. People talk about the cap. The cap is crap. Nobody cares. You can work around the cap, but it really doesn't make a difference here, does it? It doesn't matter because they're not even going to come close to the cap anyway. So you don't even have to have the conversation that these guys have out there about, is the cap real? It doesn't matter here anyway because you're not even going to hit it. You don't even come near it. We're going to have more money for next year. We re-sign our guys now. We blindly re-sign our guys just to say we did it. That's your change.
That's the Packer. Isn't that the Packer way? Is that the Packer way? Is that what
the Packer way is to draft them, develop good guys, and then re-sign them. Okay. Well, the only guy that they drafted was Uche. Who else did they re-sign that they drafted?
Owenu.
It wasn't Henry and Owenu. I mean, everybody else was brought in at some.
And Chris, they're saying that that's why they didn't sign a different running back because Ramondre's their guy and he's their stud, and they're going to re-sign him, and they're going to have to spend some money to re-sign him. Okay, I guess. All right, is he that good? I don't know. He's going to prove it to me this year because he didn't look good last year.
So everybody out there, they're not going to take they're done with wide receiver because
Chris,
they're done.
But Chris, look at the money Wilkins got for Miami. What are they going to do with Bondmore?
He's going to break the bank.
They're going to pay it?
They're going to have to. He's one of their homegrown.
Well,
he's one of their homegrown.
It's going to be very interesting to see. All of a sudden now this homegrown guy is going to want like 30 million, 40 million guaranteed. Let's see what they do with this guy.
And they've already come out. The reports already come out that said they're done with wide receiver. They're going to address it in the draft. Mark. So then let me ask you something with the last 5 minutes we have here. Okay. So we everybody skates around it. We say it flat out. They're cheap. That's it. They're just cheap. The ownership's cheap, period. End of story. We say it every damn week, and they prove us right every damn week, Mark. The only reason why you're re-signing all these guys is because they're cheap. What guaranteed money did they give out?
Nothing. They gave out nothing, Chris. Nothing.
So I'm wondering, yeah, you're right. I wonder what happens when guys like Bondmore come due and Judon. When guys like that come due, you going to pay them the guaranteed money?
And maybe that's why they signed Uche, Chris, because they're not going to re-sign Judon. So you'll have Uche and White and Jennings. So and then you'll bring in another lesser salary guy, edge guy, or maybe you draft one and you won't have to re-sign Judon. Because if you're gonna sign Bondmore, you can't sign Judon. You can. You can, but you know them. They're not going to sign both, Chris. It's one or the other.
So again, this whole thing, about building for the future. And listen, Mark, if I hear one more idiot out there, all of them, Joe, I can't name the names, Joe.
Well, you don't want to.
Let's just say all the beat writers and all these guys, okay, that you see on TV every night. None of them are in on drafting Harrison number 3. So you don't want to take free agent wide receivers because you don't want to pay them. So what are you going to do? You go into the draft then, and you take the known commodity. You take the one that you know is a one. You know is a Jamar Chase. You know is a Jefferson.
No,
right?
but they keep of course, but they keep looking, Chris, at Green Bay's track record. Well, look what they did in the draft with their receivers. And you brought up a good point, Chris. Guys like Donald Driver and all these guys, they hit because they had Favre and Rodgers. And you even said to me, what is Adams doing? How's Adams doing with the Raiders? Because you don't have Rodgers anymore.
How's he doing?
Yeah.
Look, like I said, I mean, you can't build this whole idea of we need to build for the future, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to trade the pick because we need to build for the future, right? We have to get a lot of spots filled. That's not the NFL anymore. No. This is not a 5-year plan anymore. No. You can't build for 3 years from now. You got to build for now every single year. And you know why? Because while you're building for 3 years from now, you're going to suck for 2, which means the guys that you've held on to that are now coming due are going to want guaranteed money because they're not staying with you for any other reason because you're not winning. So there's no other draw to take a hometown discount. So they're going to want guaranteed money out there. You don't want to pay it. So you end up in this endless Cleveland Brown loop.
Yep.
That's why you take Harrison. That's why you trade for Fields. That's why you go and trade for Higgins or you go trade for Ayuk. And now you have a team that when guys come due, they want to stay there.
Yeah. No, I agree, Chris. This team's never going to do that. They're never going to do that, unfortunately.
So what now? You're going to trade. So you're going to trade this pick. You're going to take a tackle, right, Mark? You're going to take a tackle.
I think they're going to trade down, Chris, and get multiple picks because they keep saying they're going to build through the draft. Well, they're going to get a haul of 5-6 picks and build through the draft.
Which means you're going to suck for the next 2 years. And then the guys that you already had on your team that are now coming due are gone. So it's an endless loop.
The only way they trade down, Chris, is if they like Knicks or Penn. They have to like a quarterback that they can get later in the first round, early second round, because otherwise they're gonna take somebody.
Well, you have to now. You have to.
Yeah.
Because if you don't take one at 3, you have to take him later. What are you going to have? Is Jacoby Brissett your future?
No. And why is Zappe still on the roster? Release him.
Yeah, he's a jerk.
You're worrying about Brissett teaching a new guy the ropes when this kid Zappe thinks he's going to be the starter. He's bad news. You can't have him in a locker room, Chris. Get rid of him.
So there it is. There's your free agency for the New England Patriots. Cheap, and more cheap. No guaranteed money. It wasn't Bill, everybody. It wasn't Bill.
Chris, the worst wide receiver room in football. And how many wide receivers did they sign in free agency? 0. That's unconscionable and undefendable. You didn't sign one wide receiver outside of your own in free agency, and you got the worst wide receiver room in football. End of story.
Joe, Mark, can I spend just one more minute? Can I spend
one more minute?
Who cares
at this point? It's our show. We can do whatever we want.
I want to spend one more minute. I want to explain to people just really quick, okay, about why you go and do the Harrison Fields.
Explain that, Chris, because I don't think people quite understand that. They keep talking about offensive line. You need the offensive lineman. You're going to build the line first.
How are you going to protect Fields? So what? You get Harrison on the outside, but you can't protect Fields to be able to throw the ball to him. Listen to me one time, everybody. Pass protection in 2024 is not one-on-one, mano a mano. It isn't. Listen, the best defensive end in football will crush the best offensive tackle in football, period. End of story. They're faster, they're quicker, they're better. They can get around them. End of story. How you improve your pass protection is together. It's with your backs, it's with your quarterback, and it's with your wide receivers. When your wide receivers can get separation, you can get the ball out in 2.25 seconds. And when you can get the ball out in 2.25 seconds, your offensive line looks spectacular, which is why Brady was so damn good. And we didn't have every offensive lineman that ever left us was crap when they went somewhere else. Why? Because the ball came out with him. Well, you don't have Brady, so you better have the weapons on the outside. Why did Brock Purdy look pretty good? Because his guys got separation. They were able to get off the ball, get open quick, and the ball came out. That's pass protection, damn it. That's pass protection. So don't give me this tackle you're going to go get, and you think it's going to do anything for you. It's going to do nothing because of the crap receiving core you got. And you're going to still have 1,000 sacks against you. That's it. I had to get that out.
Yeah.
I had to get that out.
Yeah, of course. Good.
I had to get that out. So draft Harrison. That's our reason for drafting Harrison. They get an F, Mark. What's your grade for them in free agency? F for free agency.
F.
So Pats Nation was presented by Corso Catone, Saturdays, 12 to noon p.m. Eastern. Sponsorships available. corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, when we come back, we're going to hear from one of you in the Nation and Heated Hotline. No flipping.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
What?
That's it.
What is wrong with you?
Get him on this damn show.
You lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Field. It's going to be real.
Back in, Joe, I love the Joe puts up in the private chat over with us. He puts the New England Browns Packers. New England Browns Packers Patriots.
I like it.
Get the shirts made, Joe.
Get
the
them made.
Right.
Get them made.
Get them made. So, hey, we have a message today, Joe, or an
We
email?
do. We do.
Voicemail, something like that. Well, let's hear from one of you. We're going to hear from one of you in the Nation Heated Hotline, Joe. Let's have it.
Hey, this is Steve in Colorado. Here's my question for you guys as I watch this Dynasty series. So if this is a Kraft production, you know he's likely has final editorial control. They must have known that they were going to fire Belichick regardless of what happened this year, because the storyline obviously is blaming everything on Belichick. How could they possibly coexist with Belichick after this documentary aired? Do you guys agree that they came into this season knowing they were going to let Belichick go? Keep up the great work. Great show. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you, Steve. As always, loyal listener, we thank you for the call.
Yeah.
Smart call.
Very
Joe,
smart
you
call.
picked a good one. So episode 7 and 8 aired. It's Thursday with that we're recording, so we're not going to hear 9 and 10. We'll talk about that next week. But Mark, answer his question. I mean, we heard promos for this.
We heard promos towards the end of the season for this, so he is right about that, Chris. The production and it's his company, so yeah. So I think going back, Chris, to that report that a couple of people had mentioned, a couple of the beat writers, that the decision was made when they came back from when they came back from London. We're not bringing this man back. It was probably true, Chris.
Yeah, but when was that? October they played that game?
That was October they played that game.
So, Joe, let me ask you something. You're in the best position to answer this question. When would they have had to make a production like this for it to air now, coming out what it just did a few weeks ago?
Right around that time, they would have potentially started.
You're talking about what, early, like October in that area?
Yeah,
Or
depending on the interviews and stuff like that, and how far they go back, depending on an individual. When you say somebody like Welker, right, getting that guy to get in the room somehow, knowing he was gone so far back, you know what I mean? Just people like that. Aside from that, the production itself probably could have gotten underway about 6 months to a year ago.
So
fast track. Otherwise, it takes longer, especially when you get in interviews with guys who are like so far.
Yeah, because you got Stallworth. They brought Stallworth in. Welker, as he said, Mark. I mean,
no, yeah. So I think, Joe, what they did was I think they brought a bunch of guys in to comment, and then I think the production team sat and decided, okay, this guy makes the cut, this guy doesn't. Like I don't think everybody that they brought in, Chris, even ended up in the actual final product.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean, Joe? So Joe's right. It might have been from a year ago, Chris, that they brought these people in and started this process.
So I believe. Listen, I think. When did they do Belichick stuff then? They must have done Belichick stuff because I doubt he would have agreed to do it in the middle during the season.
He wouldn't have. And I doubt, Chris, there's no possible
Not that he was
way,
in it a lot. I mean,
but Chris, the call is right. There's no possible way you could have released this if he was still your coach. There's no way.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
And I'll say this to you, Steve, that this was all kept under wraps. So when Belichick was probably cutting his takes, because I doubt very much they played everything he said. I mean, they edit it, right, Joe? I mean,
yeah.
Whatever. So it's not like everything they're saying. So there's no way Belichick knew what the hell was coming. There's no way.
No.
There's definitely 100% way to ask the same type of questions, get the same type of responses, and then still edit it in a way that sounds like, it's gone sour with Belichick. Either way, you know what I mean?
So these sneaky SOBs were making this production, okay? While he's your head coach, when they flat out knew the undertone and the theme that it was going to be, which was trash Belichick. I mean, come on. Listen, Mark, this is what this is. This is a hatchet job on Belichick. It has been. The whole thing is, if you watch episode 7 and 8, okay, episode 7 deals with Deflategate.
Yep.
So the only time Belichick is in that, I don't even think he's in it. Like Brady wasn't in it with the Hernandez thing. But the only thing about Belichick was basically they made sure that.
But don't they show the clip of his press conference, Chris, when he talks
Brady
about
under the bus?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which he did, and we dogged him for that when he did it.
Yeah.
We said, hey, after Spygate, he didn't want to take it on the chin again, so he put it on Brady. That was the wrong thing to do by Bill. That was the wrong thing.
And Kraft, the team, Chris, kind of diverted it at that point in time, kind of diverted it away from Belichick as well, because they knew if he got another strike against him, it might have been a year suspension from the league. So,
well, wasn't he still coming off the Jets thing previously?
Yeah, exactly.
The Spygate.
The Spygate, that's right.
Yeah, well, see, that's the whole thing. And I don't, that may have been, what they don't talk about was that a collaborative discussion with these guys to say, look, we can't let Bill get suspended for a year. So he's gonna have to back away from this.
And nobody
Was
will
it
ever know.
that? Was it? I don't know, because they don't probe into that.
No.
They just talk about the 7 and 8 were basically the feel bad for Brady episodes.
Well, then it was the Garoppolo, right? They drafted
Right.
Garoppolo.
Right. Brady gets suspended.
Yeah.
He got wrongfully. And by the way, absolutely, that was the biggest BS, ridiculous nonsense, Deflategate that I've ever heard in my life. Oh, he destroyed his phone. You know what? I'll smash my computer, my phone, everything I own before I give it to somebody else. Screw that. You know what? Screw that. And guess what, Mark? Everybody was down on Goodell. Pissed off at him. Screw you.
Yep.
We should be kissing Goodell's ass, because he provided. Look, Tom Brady, if you know nothing about Tom Brady, don't poke him. Don't tell him he can't do something. Don't sit him down. Goodell perfectly. He gave us everything we needed when he suspended him. Did you have any doubt when he came back that he was going to tear up the friggin' league at that point?
Nope, absolutely not.
So thank you, Mr. Goodell.
Yeah, please. But and Chris, listen. Again, this is similar to Spygate. Every team was doing it. Okay,
it's
the footballs, Chris. Every quarterback has their own preference of where they like the balls. Nobody says anything. Nobody cares. It was done all over the league. That was the practice, and then all of a sudden they complained, and that was another hatchet job, setup job. I mean, come on, the whole league's doing it.
Yeah, and then it came out later that it was the weather.
It came
out later. It was, but it wasn't about that anymore. Now it was about obstruction. Now it was about you destroyed your phone. Who the hell are you to look at my phone? Get away from me. About a deflated football? Get out of my face. You think if they were the Cleveland Browns, anybody would have cared? That they would tell them, you know what, play with a flat ball. We don't care. You suck anyway. Yeah. They were trying to knock them off the top. So
they had enough. And Chris, they had enough of the Patriots at that point. They were trying to knock them off the top. And interesting enough, Chris, they're the darlings right now, too. The Kansas City's the darlings, Kelsey and Taylor Swift. Eventually, the league will turn on to them, too, Chris, because people don't want to continue to see a teams dominate like that. Parody's what Goodell wants. He don't want what Kansas City's doing either.
So talking about the next step, the Garoppolo one.
Yep.
Okay, that was another Belichick hatchet job, too. Here comes Darth Vader in the room, okay, to take Jimmy Garoppolo, which, again, Kraft comes out in the episode and says, I was shocked, he said. I was shocked when we took him, when he was on the phone with him saying, hey, Jimmy, welcome to the New England Patriots.
He was shocked. Okay.
He was shocked, he said.
Yeah,
shocked.
He
was shocked by that. And he said, Bill kept coming to us and giving us stats on how Brady was declining. And I believe that's true.
I don't disagree with that. I believe it was true.
Belichick was wrong, was dead wrong. Everybody was wrong on Brady. Everyone. So he kept giving him stats, right, Mark? Kept giving him stats and
showing him video of he's throwing the ball. He's showing the ball. He's throwing the ball late. He's missing guys.
He wasn't completely wrong. He wasn't completely wrong because you go, yeah, but it also always comes from the top. The reason why he was declining is because your coaching sucked. I'm sorry, I had to say it.
Well, okay. So what's he setting up for? What's Kraft setting up for?
Well, Kraft is setting up for, Chris, that it wasn't his decision to let him. He would have never got rid of him. He's going to put this all. He's setting this all up where it was I couldn't repair the relationship after that happened. I just couldn't do it. I tried to do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah. You know what they didn't show in the episode? Remember and I don't remember if this happens, if it'll be in the next episode because it's Thursday. Remember the interview after they got shelled in Kansas City? It was week 1 or something.
Everybody said it was over for Brett.
They asked Belichick, "Is there a quarterback controversy? Will you think about going to Jimmy?" And you remember his reaction to that? He went, if you're not watching it on YouTube, I'm making a face like, "What are you kidding me? What the hell kind of stupid question is that?" Which was the face Belichick made. They didn't show that in this episode.
They didn't show that.
Because it doesn't fit their narrative.
Exactly.
No, of course, no. That's a good point, Chris. There's a good point.
They're cheap. And when we break this dynasty, and we finish our recap of this dynasty next week, we don't know what 9 and 10 is. It's Saturday. You out there do. We don't. But I guarantee you it'll be what Mark said. He's setting up to blame Belichick for him leaving. You have the checkbook.
Chris, listen. So you eventually convince Belichick to get rid of Garoppolo, which Belichick did not want to do. That's known. Okay, fine. So now when he gets rid of Garoppolo,
in 18,
all you had to do was say to Brady, you want to play to your 45. We're going to give you we're going to allow you to play until you're 45. We're going to give you a 5-year contract. We'll give you whatever you want for signing bonus. We'll spread it out. We'll make it so it works for both of us. You're never leaving here, and you'll retire at 45. And guess what? Even though his relationship with Bill was fractured, he would have said, okay, Mr. Kraft, and he would have signed. He would have signed.
Yeah, because why? And listen, and that was 17. Because why? Because Brady was taking beatings from Belichick, and this is shown. And look, nobody's discounting that. Belichick was a son of a bitch to these guys. He was nasty to them.
Of course.
But he knew how to get what he needed to get from a guy like Brady. He knew what he needed to get out of him, and that's how he knew what to do with him. And so, this nonsense. Look, Brady took abuse from him for 20 years. I mean,
for 20 years.
So he was going to do that. Belichick knew his role and what he needed to do with Brady, and Brady knew his role and how he needed to take it from Belichick. That's constant. What needed to happen was the owner needed to step in and not be cheap and pay the guy, and everybody would have maintained their roles till the end. And that's not what happened. And now with free agency and everything that's happening, Steve, now you know who was the cheap one. And it wasn't Bill.
I think you just said it right there. In that whole bit you just said, I think you just nailed what the reason is for this dynasty is. One big, long apology to Brady.
It is.
It is. You know what, Joe? Joe, that's a great point, Joe. That it really is.
You're sorry than it is to pay. Open the checkbook.
Drop the mic on that one, Joe.
Yeah, that's a good way to end the segment, Joe. Absolutely.
So Steve, listen, we appreciate the call. We're with you. There was never going to. Belichick had no idea what a hatchet job this would be, or else they would have never been able to coexist. So, Heated Hotline was presented by Corso Law Group, CorsoLawGroup.com. Hey, we come back. Going to go back in the week. We're going to go weekly rewind, all that and more right after this.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Corso Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, talk with these expert attorneys. CorsoLawGroup.com.
Back in with more Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. Hey, Mark, no Catone's comments tonight.
Joe, he froze me out, Joe. Froze me right out.
You see?
By the way.
The fans are going to be pissed off about this.
Froze me out. Okay.
Don't worry. We'll have him. We'll have it back next week. We'll have it back next week. But this week, there was a lot of things that happened. We want to talk Celtics, PC, a little baseball. We're going to do it in a weekly rewind, Joe. We're going to do it now.
Going back through the week, about a weekly rewind.
Okay, so Mark, let's start with the Celtics, okay? And the big thing we want to talk about, we've been going through some of the issues, some of the things we think may or may not happen as they get into this playoff push. They go out to Denver. We talked about they lose in Cleveland, but they lose to Denver, and they looked how they looked. I think we broke that. We talked about that. We talked about that last week, about how they looked in Denver. Well, anyway. They go and lose that Denver game, but then they come back and they beat Phoenix. I'm bringing those two games up because those are two teams that are playoff teams and that kind of thing.
Yep.
Which team are we going to get in the playoffs? Are we going to get the team that played against Denver and lost, or are we going to get the Phoenix team?
Well, Chris, I think it's the same team, but Denver and Phoenix play two different styles of basketball, Chris. Denver's going to punch you in the face. And they're gonna do whatever they're gonna do. They're gonna get down and dirty. They got the Joker. They got Jokic, and Jokic's gonna play his game and do his thing. And he's gonna bang it and throw his body around. And here's what happened in that Denver game, Chris. And this is typical of the Celtics. Jaylen Brown got hot, was taking control of a lot of the flow of the game was going through him. When that happens, Tatum gets disengaged, and that disengagement, Chris, doesn't just affect him on offense, it affects him on defense. And you brought this up, Chris, how he was just standing there allowing alley-oops and not protecting the backside on defense. He became disengaged in the whole game because he wasn't the focal point on offense. And then at the end, Chris, he's got a wide open three to give him the lead late. What was it, like 30, 45 seconds to go, minute to go?
Yeah. Yep.
Can't hit it. He consistently, Chris, doesn't hit those shots when they need it in a big situation, in a big game. And then again, down the stretch, Missoula's not using timeouts either correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. Tatum had 15 points in that game.
That was a
Jaylen Brown had 41.
That was a microcosm of what happens, Chris, when they get punched in the face and they play a team like Denver, Miami. That's what happens to the Celtics. The Phoenix game was different. Phoenix is a finesse team. They're not going to punch you in the face. They're not going to get physical with you. And the Celtics went back to the normal way they play. That's just the way it is.
So it goes back to, again, us when we talk about they're the same guy.
They're the same guy. And that's why you and I always said, if you're going to do something, and listen, I still think they get the best roster in the NBA, and they should win a championship. But those guys don't complement each other, Chris. And you and I have been saying that for 3 years.
But thank God for Porzingis coming on this team, because he allows Brown he allowed that compliment. And it was more so now, I think, with Brown than Tatum.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is, Chris.
That the season is showing, and so, yeah, you're right. So unless it's all popping, the spacing on the floor, the high pick and rolls, allowing you to get downhill, searching for matchups, being patient with the matchups. So I guess the answer to it is Tatum's going to be the one that's more engaged, because Brown shows more of the grit, and he'll stay in there. He'll stay in that game. But if they're not going to play inside, when we've seen them, when they decide they want to play an inside game, they're unstoppable.
Yeah, they are.
But yeah, when Tatum checks out.
But Chris, he has the two veteran coaches. Do you think one of them would say, Joe, look, you realize I know you want 43 pointers a game, and I get that. But when we get into a 7-game series against Denver in the finals, you're going to have to play this way to beat this team. Because my prediction, Chris, is if they don't do what you just described, they won't. They have no shot of beating Denver in a 7-game series the way that they play.
They shot 38 3-pointers in that game. Okay. And in the Suns game, the Suns game, they had the same, but their percentage was better. But the difference with it is the Suns shot 31.
Yeah.
Denver didn't shoot that many. So you're right. It was a shootout, basically, is what was happening in that Phoenix game.
Yeah, and that's what they want to play.
Well, listen, I mean, if they don't go back to that, if they don't get to the inside out game and they don't have spacing and those kinds of things, which fuels their defense, they're not going to get very far. And so, Mark, looking at switching gears this week to Providence College. Now it's Thursday. They're playing Creighton right now in the Big East tournament. The big win against Georgetown. Nice win. Game they should win. And they dominated, they pulled away at the end. It was nice to see. Talk about PC. And Mark's dying. He's dying. I mean, that game's going on right now, and he's dying.
So PC, Chris, is on the bubble. They have to beat. They're playing Creighton tonight. They're up 3 at the half. Providence is up 3 at the half. And they've slowed the game down. It's a 33-30 at the half. And that's what that's the only
a lot of points.
Creighton is they have to play that game where the game's in the 60s and 70s. They can't go 80s, 90s against that team. But Providence has to beat Creighton or they can't get in. And then if you beat Creighton, I think you're still on the bubble, but maybe you're coming off the bubble on the back end of it. My prediction is you're going to win tonight against Creighton. You're going to win in the semis Friday night. You're going to make it to the final. Even if you lose the final, just to be safe. To be safe, Chris, get the Saturday night. I don't care if you get blown out on Saturday night. Get the Saturday night. And if they get the Saturday night at MSG, I think I'm getting on a train and I'm going to go watch.
Who would they be playing tomorrow night? Friday night.
The Friday night they play the winner of Marquette in Villanova.
Well, that's a better. To me, that's a better draw than this one, no?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. This is a tough game tonight.
Well, they lost to Villanova twice, but
but the odds are, if you get them a third time, you hope you could try to beat them. I mean, Creighton's top 10 team in the country, Chris. Creighton is possibly a Final Four team. the Big East has 2 teams that are Final Four teams probably. So tonight is Thursday night quarterfinals. This is the game. I'll lose my voice by about 10:30.
It's gonna be Villanova's not gonna beat Marquette
I don't think so.
tonight.
I don't think so. Although Marquette's one of their best players isn't playing. They're resting him. He's hurt, his ribs, whatever. But we'll see what happens. Marquette,
So we also
earlier.
Team has an accolade, right? Have somebody
They do have an accolade. Thank you for reminding me. So Devin Carter, Big East Player of the Year. Haven't had that since Chris Dunn. Listen, Bryce Hopkins got hurt. Carter put him on his back. They won 10 Big East games. I didn't think it was possible that the kid played like Superman, deserves it. He's going to turn pro. He's not going to come back next year, but that's okay. He put him on his back, and I didn't think anybody on the team was able to do that, and he did it. And he's got him in position to possibly go to the tournament. So,
Well, congratulations to him. Let's hope they can pull this thing out for Mr. Fryer over here so he doesn't completely lose his mind like he already has. And Mark, with the few minutes we have left, they are playing baseball, everybody out there.
Yeah,
they're in spring training. They are playing baseball. And so we got the bruised and battered Yankees, and we got the suckhole Red Sox, Mark. Talk about it.
Well, actually, Chris, they're both bruised and battered. So the Red Sox lost their best free agent signing, the kid Gallardo, the pitcher. Yeah. He hurt his
He'll be
elbow.
ready to go in 25.
25. So he's out for the year. So there you go. You got rid of Chris Sale. You bring this kid in. He's got a big addition. He's out for the year. And now this week, the Yankees, Cole, elbow soreness in between starts. He's going to be out at least 1 to 2 months, which is a problem, Chris. That's a problem, And now Blake Snell is still out there, the free agent. Now I think you're desperate. Now you got to go give him whatever you want. You don't have a choice, Chris. You go over the goddamn threshold. Who cares? Pay whatever you're going to pay, because if he's out 1 or 2, if he's out 2 months, say, there's no way you're gonna make a run. If he's then by the time he comes back, now it's 3 months before he's back in you have to go get Snell. You don't have a choice in the matter. And Judge, abdominal soreness, this, that, they're going to rest him. They're not going to probably play him much. They said the rest of spring training, they'll give him bats in the cage and stuff, but they think they're going to rest him until opening day. I mean, it's like a mass unit, Chris. These guys are getting paid all this money. They got personal trainers. I don't understand, Chris, how these guys get hurt. It's March.
Yeah. So I might listen. I don't have much of an expectation. I have an expectation for New York, and again, part of that is going to be injury free. And by the way, Boston, that's not the only guy that's going to be ready to go in 25. There's another arm too that's coming off the Tommy John that's not going to be ready to throw. So what's your expectation, honestly, for these two teams?
For the Red Sox, my expectation is they're probably going to finish at the bottom of the division, Chris. I don't think they can win. They're going to stay. They don't have any pitching. They don't have any. Their pitching's terrible, Chris. They're not going to win the game. They're not going to win many games this year. They just can't. And I'm going to be honest with you. The Yankees, Chris, are only going to go as far as their pitching. The Yankees are loaded, Chris, on defense, offense with Soto and Judge and all these guys. But can they get enough pitching out of the bullpen and starting pitching now without Cole? It's all pitching for the Yankees. The key, Chris, is pitching. If you get the pitching, you can make a run, I think. At least get into the playoffs more than you did last year. But we'll see. By the way, Providence up 9. Providence up 9.
Man, we started the show. I said, hey, Providence is up 25 points. And I was just being,
they're up 9, baby.
Teasing them a little bit. So, well, let's see. Let's hear from you in Heated Hotline about what you think about baseball and anything else that's on the table. So Corso and Catone was presented by Corso Law Group. Hey, get on, watch. All our shows are up for you to listen, watch, subscribe, give us that thumbs up. Come back next week, noon to 1 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. More free agent talk. Going to talk a little draft, too. Bring back Catone's comments and anything you bring to the table. We will be ready. We are Corso and Catone, the real deal, New England feel. See you next Saturday.
Now find Corso and Catone on AM 790, The Score, iHeartRadio, iTunes, wherever you podcast. Or subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch the chaos every Saturday at noon.